Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at a set piece routine by the Austrians. What's going to happen is the goalkeeper is going to play a pass out to his left centre back Perdil, and Perdil is going to hit that ball first time up to his left winger Kynes. We'll take a look at the set piece first and then we'll analyse it afterwards. So here's the pass out to Perdil, and Perdil is going to hit that ball up first time. Cyrus Christie, the Irish right back, heads it out of play. So let's take a look at that set piece now more in depth. Okay, so this is an overhead look now of the set piece by Austria. First thing to note is the formations that both teams are using. Austria are playing with a 4-1-4-1 or 4-3-3. This means that they have a defensive mid here, Baumgartlinger, who drops onto the edge of the D to receive the ball. The two centre backs split either side of the 18-yard box to provide other passing options for the goalkeeper. Two full backs are wide on the touchline. Alaba is in the centre of the pitch, and Januzovic has come over onto this left hand side because this is where the ball is going to be going. Ireland are pressing with a 4-4-2 at the moment. They typically play with a 4-2-3-1 when in possession, but they press with a 4-4-2. Jeff Hendrick is the most advanced midfielder who presses on to the Austrians' defence. This set piece targets the left side of the pitch. What Austria have targeted here are two players in particular, those being the right back Cyrus Christie and the right centre mid Glenn Whelan. Now, the goal of this set piece is to get Januzovic, the left centre mid for Austria, in a pocket of space and running at the Irish defence. In order to do that, other players must create space first, and Januzovic also must create space for himself. The white arrow indicates the ball's trajectory, and the yellow arrows are the movements in which the Austrian players will be undertaking. The first thing to note here is when this ball is played out to the left centre back Perdil, the left back Hinteregger, who is being marked by Robbie Brady, drops short to receive. The aim of this is to take Robbie Brady out of this yellow area and take him further away from where the ball is going to be going. The next thing that's very important here is Januzovic's run, because he's going to be making a check run against Glenn Whelan. Glenn Whelan, coming into his mid-30s now, has lost a lot of his mobility, and Januzovic is a very agile and mobile, quick player. He typically plays on the right hand side of midfield for Austria, and Alaba typically plays on the left centre. But in this game, they've targeted Januzovic and put Januzovic up against Glenn Whelan, as he is quick and more agile than the Irish midfielder. Cyrus Christie is not renowned for his aerial ability either, so anything in the air could trouble Cyrus Christie, even though Kynes is not particularly strong in the air himself. When this ball is played to Perdil, Januzovic is going to come short to receive the pass, or to dummy to receive. And when Perdil kicks that ball up to this left wing towards Kynes, as that ball is kicked, Januzovic is going to check. So he's going to come short, and when the ball is kicked, he checks back into space. Brady will be hopefully taken out of that space, and Januzovic can run in for a knockdown by his left winger Kynes. That is the goal. The only problem here for the Austrians is that Shane Duffy is the free man. Kevin Long is zonally picking up Bergstaller, the Austrian centre forward, while Ward is picking up the right winger, Lazaro. So they want to create confusion between these two centre backs if possible, because they want Junuzovic to have a good 5 or 10 yards to pick up pace when he receives that ball in space. So we're going to be looking at how this all is going to be achieved now. So I'm going to play this clip. So that ball is going to Perdil. And now, as you see, Hinteregger, the left back for Austria, has come to receive that pass short. And Robbie Brady has been taken out of that space because he must engage with the closest man to him, who is the left back. Junuzovic has also come short, and Kainz is making a run to the halfway line. He's just creating an angle for a long lobbed pass. Now, when Perdil hits this pass, it's very important that he does not take a touch, because what's going to happen if he takes a touch is that Glenn Whelan will be able to recover and get the right side of Junuzovic. So he has to hit this pass first time up to his left winger. And when he does that, Junuzovic is going to check into this space, and because he's quicker than Glenn Whelan now, he is going to run quicker and he's going to get to that ball first, hopefully. The next thing here is Bergstaller and Lazaro are making diagonal runs. Lazaro has held his run for a moment because he knows that Stephen Ward is going to stay with him. And Bergstaller, making this diagonal run, is running onto Shane Duffy, because Shane Duffy is the more skilled and experienced defender. Kevin Long may be a bit rusty as he's not played much for Burnley this year, and is not as good a defender in my opinion than Shane Duffy is. So why Bergstaller is running towards Shane Duffy is because both of these players are picking him up zonally, and when he runs in between the two of them, it creates confusion within the Irish defence, and it needs a lot of communication between the two centre backs to understand who's going to pick him up. But when he runs in there, in between the centre backs, it's very hard to pick that run up. Now, this ball is going to be hit by Perdil up to that left winger, Kainz, and now you can see that Junuzovic, because he's checked that run, bang, in there. All it's needed now is, because Junuzovic is quicker than Glenn Whelan, is that a quality little touch into the left centre mid's path. Now Bergstaller is running at Duffy, and Kevin Long is the one who's going to be exposed to an oncoming running attacker. Kevin Long will be left with a big decision to make, because he either has to take down this Junuzovic, or he will be putting his team at risk. So as you see now, that ball is coming in now, and he's running straight towards Kevin Long, and that is really dangerous as a centre back. And the dangerous part here is Lazaro is making a diagonal run, and he's going to be sprinting for his life to get in behind, and Bergstaller is just taking Duffy away. So now Kevin Long has to foul this attacker. If Junuzovic beats him, they're in serious trouble. It's a 3 versus 3 with an attacker running at one of the centre backs. Very, very dangerous. And something that the Austrians have obviously worked on. So we're going to be taking a look at that set piece now in the game, so I can show you what it actually looks like. So this is the set piece now where the ball is going to be passed out to the left centre back Pradil, and Pradil is going to lump it. So there we go, bang, hits that ball. Now, as you see here, this is the check run by Januzovic. So this is the run that Januzovic has made in the blue, and Glenn Whelan has tracked that run. This is Robbie Brady engaging onto the left back here, Hinteregger, and now there is a massive gap in the pocket here, and Januzovic is a yard ahead of Glenn Whelan here and is in the process of getting away from him. So play that on there now. There's the two going up for the header, and as you see here, with the left winger jumping up for this long pass, Januzovic is running into a lot of space, and if this ball can be knocked down into that space, then those two centre backs are going to have a massive problem. Burgstaller running diagonally, and Lazaro also running diagonally. Kevin Long will be the one who's exposed if Januzovic gets running at that Irish defence, and it will be a 3 versus 3. Unfortunately for Austria, this did not play out like that, and Cyrus Christie won the header on this occasion, but a very good set piece by the Austrians. Okay, so it's a throw in now for the Austrians, and it is probably a good time to discuss the marking scheme in which Ireland are using. What we are looking at here is the basic shape and primary marking from the Irish team. Obviously, Austria playing with a 4-1-4-1, and Ireland pressing with a 4-2-3-1/4-4-1-1 formation. Starting from the front, Jonathan Walters has the job of pressing either centre back. The most advanced midfielder for Ireland, Jeff Hendrick, presses onto the Austrian defensive mid. The left midfielder McLean pressing onto the right back, and the right midfielder for Ireland pressing on the Austrian left back. The two in the middle occupy the Austrian central midfielders. The Irish right back marks the Austrian left winger. The Irish left back marking the Austrian right midfielder, and the two central defenders marking the striker zonally. Okay? These are the secondary pressing options. Quite complicated, but I will give you an example now of how this pressing is implemented into the game. Okay, this is an example of how not to press the ball by Ireland. Pressing with a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1. Pradil has the ball. The ball is on the left side of the pitch. Okay? The yellow arrows indicate the primary markers, and the black arrows indicate the secondary markers. Primary means the first player that you will have to press. Secondary means if the ball happens to go into a certain area, or one of your teammates gets dragged out of their position, your secondary role is to cover them. So, for example, Perdil has the ball here. He is going to pass to Dragovic, his right centre back. Walter's primary job is to press Perdil. Hendrik's primary job is to mark Baumgartlinger. But because Dragovic is the free man, he must now progress onto his secondary pressing option or marker. So Hendrik will vacate Baumgartlinger, the defensive mid. That will mean that Glenn Whelan must cover for him because Baumgartlinger is closer to the ball and he must be covered. So Whelan will rush out onto Baumgartlinger to cover that, or to at least not rush out, but to at least cover for him. Robbie Brady will tuck in to cover Glenn Whelan. So yellows are the primary, blacks are the secondary. So when a teammate has vacated his position to press another player from the opposition, then you must cover them with your secondary marker. Now, we are going to show you an example of how not to press the ball. Perdil is 25 yards into his own half, or 25 yards away from his goalkeeper, or his goal line. With Ireland only pressing 2-1, it is a 3 versus 2 in the first third of the pitch. That means that Ireland cannot afford to press the ball too soon. They are safe if Perdil dribbles down into this side because Shane Duffy is the free man and can cover whoever gets free onto this side, with Kevin Long providing the marking on the centre forward for Austria, Bergstaller. So, what Walters should do is allow Perdil to dribble up to possibly 35 yards, or that generally is the third pitch marking in from the halfway line. So usually there's a pitch marking to there, to there and to there. So it'll be about here where he'll begin to slowly press the ball. Not when the Austrian has the ball 5 or 10 or 15 yards away from his own penalty area. Because this ball now can easily be passed if he presses too soon. This is the example of where Jonathan Walters presses too soon. This has not happened in the game, but it needs to be shown. So he presses, and now you can see that the marking has changed. Hendrik was initially marking Baumgartlinger, but now he has to press the free man. He needs cover, which is provided by Glenn Whelan, who presses on to Baumgartlinger, his secondary marking allocated player. Okay? Robbie Brady presses on to Januzovic, and the whole team shifts across onto this side of the pitch. Keep in mind that Walters has pressed way too soon here. And when this ball comes across now, Hendrik has a lot of ground to cover, and he has two jobs: to press the man on the ball, but also to stop the initial pass into Baumgartlinger. So he has to run at an angle which is not favouring him or Ireland, and he is left a big hole in the middle of the pitch, which Alaba will expose further by dragging Harry Arter, who's marking him, out of that space. Bergstaller is an intelligent centre forward, and he could make a run into this pocket, which would be very dangerous. McLean coming across to stop the oncoming, overlapping fullback. Dragovic's going to get that ball now, and he's going to pass it straight into Dragovic. Ireland are stretched. Typically, a team should be about 40 yards in vertical width, but here it is well beyond 50 yards, which means this big gap through the middle, and Arter being pulled away because he has to stop that pass into Alaba. So now that pass comes through, Duffy has to come out and either foul Bergstaller and take that yellow card, or if he's already on a yellow and can't risk it, has to let him go. And if he does, then they're in serious trouble, because Liner has overlapped and Lazaro has made a diagonal run. And then he gets running at that Irish team. Very dangerous. So that is how not to press the ball. Let me show you now how it should be done. We are going to be looking at the correct way in which Ireland should be pressing the ball. Previously, you would have seen Purdue passing the ball to Dragovic, and Dragovic was able to find a pass straight through the middle of the pitch into the centre forward, Bergstaller. The difference here is there is secondary marking and pressing taking place, and a few fine-tunements have been made, which I will point out to you. Remember, the smaller details within football are the most important sometimes, and certainly very important when you are pressing the ball. This is an aggressive press from Ireland, where they want to dispossess Austria as soon as possible. It may take a lot of energy and should only be done in bursts, because the fitness levels needed would be extremely high. The yellow arrows indicate the primary markers. The black arrows are indicating the secondary pressing markers, in which cover needs to be provided for teammates. An example of that is where Hendrik is pressing Baumgartlinger, but when he needs to press the free man Dragovic when he receives the ball, Whelan will secondarily have to press Baumgartlinger, while Brady secondarily has to press Januzovic. So we've already discussed that. So moving on now to the clip. So as you see, the pass is played by Purdue. Walters was already making his way out towards Purdue. As this ball is being played, Hendrik is moving towards the right centre back for Austria. McLean moving out to the right back, and Arter moves on to the right centre mid. Now, the issue here is through the middle of the pitch, as seen before with that pass through to Bergstaller. So what Hendrik needs to do is very important. He needs to make a run at an angle to block off this gap between the two centre mids. He also needs to run at such an angle where he can block off the pass to Baumgartlinger. He should not be running at full speed because he will not be able to adjust his body when the ball moves either side of him. He should only be running at about 3/4 of his top speed, so he can adjust his body and make an interception. The whole team for Ireland is shifting across, and the two centre backs are marking Bergstaller's only. Brady will have to vacate his primary marker, who is the left back, and cover in for Glenn Whelan onto Januzovic. The right back for Ireland, Cyrus Christie, is always going to stay with his left winger, Kynes. So there's the ball out now. And as you see, Jeff Hendrick is blocking this pass. So if a pass was to go through the centre of the pitch, Hendrick is in between his two central midfielders, and that pass cannot be played. Any sort of lobbed pass played by Dragovic can be dealt with by Shane Duffy, because Duffy is in between two of the Austrian players. He is marking Bergstaller. So if the ball is chipped towards Bergstaller, Duffy will engage and will attempt to head the ball away, while Kevin Long provides cover in this sort of an area. So one centre back goes out for the header, and the free man drops in behind to cover. So Hendrick does his job well. Long is free. Duffy's on Bergstaller's only, and everything is done well. Now, as Dragovic receives this ball and plays his next pass, the Ireland team must then react to the pass and switch markers once again, which I will show you now. So he receives the pass. Now he's going to play this pass here. Two things can happen. Hendrick can either intercept this because he's coming at a good angle. He can either intercept this pass, or the pass goes through Hendrick into Alava's feet, which is not a problem. Walters now has switched his marker again onto a secondary, Bergstaller, because Whelan, who was pressing him on the second phase of that play, now has to cover the centre of the pitch, because if that was a lobbed pass, Whelan would try to intercept that. Brady covering the pass into Januzovic, and Christie would be able to engage from behind. Duffy marking Bergstaller zonally. Ward on the right winger, and Long is the free man, providing cover for all of his defending players. On this instance, the ball goes by Hendrick, for example. Now you can see Walters is pressing in onto Baumgartlinger. Whelan covering this side of the pitch, so if Alava turns, he'll be turning into Glenn Whelan. If Alava turns in behind Harry Arter, and Kevin Long and Ward will be able to deal with that, because Lazaro will pass on more than likely, and Ward will be able to press the man. So there's another example of a secondary press. Yes, the ball comes in here. Very little passing options for Alava now, and he's under massive pressure. And now Whelan can explode if a pass is played into Baumgartlinger's feet. If the pass goes through Whelan, Walters in behind him to try and nip the ball and Whelan to run onto it. So everything here seems to be perfect. On this instance, Whelan's going to just run onto that pass, and now Ireland split open Austria, and they can score a goal. So there you go, lads. That's an example of how you aggressively press the ball. It requires a lot of hard work and energy, and is not to be deployed on every single play. That's one example of how to do it. There's many other examples. That's just one. So now we're going to have a look at conservative pressing by Ireland in the next clip. Just pressing on the third pitch marking, or about 20 yards into the opposition half. So let's say, for example, the ball gets played out here onto this right hand side instead of Perdil actually dribbling in. Well, what would happen is the Irish players would be shifting across onto this onto the Austrian right hand side or their left hand side. So as you can see now, Brady was initially marking his primary, who was Hinteregger, and Whelan was initially marking his primary, Januzovic. But when the ball gets switched, roles change and cover must be provided because players are out of position and there is a free man. So Dragovic is the free man. When there is a free man on the opposite side of the pitch, more players have to obviously move to that side. So in the first example, where Dragovic had the ball and he was able to get this pass through to Bergstaller, how secondary marking works is Whelan covers in onto the secondary Bergstaller, and Robbie Brady goes to a secondary, the right centre mid, Januzovic. So Bergstaller, or Brady's left Hinteregger to mark Whelan's man, while Whelan can cover a pass into the centre forward. This means that there is an assurance that no pass will get through the middle of the pitch, and the Austrians will more than likely have to go back out this side of the pitch when Dragovic receives that pass, because there will be no passing options, certainly none that are safe enough to keep the ball. Role switch between Walters and Hendrick now. Hendrick becomes the man who presses the first centre back, while Walters covers in around on Baumgartlinger. McLean was initially tucked in closer to Alaba, but now of course he's moving to his primary, who is Liner. Ward always on the 0. Okay, so that ball is being played across now, and as you can see, Ireland would be the perfect vertical length, and horizontally fairly good too. There's no passing option in because Ireland are not being aggressive, and there's a lot of bodies in the centre of the pitch. Because Hendrick is not running out to that ball, he does not put his team at risk of a pass going through or slipping into Januzovic. So it's all about conservative pressing and patience. If this pass goes out to Liner, then McLean can press. McLean's initially just blocking that ball into Lazaro, the right winger, but when it goes out to his primary target, he will press him. Now, so we'll play this now a bit more. Dragovic is going to dribble in. Now he has to go back out to the other side. and Ireland will shift across again. Very safe and easy. Hard work on the legs, obviously, but it's better than a pass going through to the opposition striker. On this occasion, obviously, it's just, I've not done an ending to it because I don't need to show an ending, but he's just dribbling in there and he's going to be tackled, or pass going to get intercepted, essentially, So there's a lot more to pressing than this, but that is the basics, and I am showing you what Ireland are doing. They have primary pressing targets, but they have secondary who they will press when cover is needed. So we'll go to the in-game situation now and have a look at that.